The sun crept over the Ozark ridges, painting the morning sky. At the Three Brothers General Store, it was just another quiet day. Old Tom, his back bent with the years, swept the porch, the rhythmic swish of his broom, a familiar sound. Inside, Rosemary carefully sorted a fresh delivery of produce, her hands moving with practiced grace. Doc Holliday, leaning back in his favorite chair, lazily spun an ivory-handled revolver, a glint of silver in the morning light. Suddenly, the old radio on the shelf crackled to life, a voice cutting through the static with urgent news. A giant gorilla, a creature of impossible size, was spotted near the Newark Island Slough Bridge. The three of them exchanged a look of silent, shared understanding. Doc holstered his revolver with a soft click. "Well," he drawled, his voice a low rumble, "sounds a bit too big for just us." Without another word, they moved towards the back of the store, a place few customers ever saw. The air grew thick with a strange energy. Sugar, a petite Siamese cat with fur the color of cream and coffee, leaped gracefully onto a peculiar glowing crate. This was no ordinary cat, and this was no ordinary crate. Her vivid blue eyes, ancient and intelligent, seemed to pierce the dim light of the storeroom. With a delicate tap of her paw on a control panel, the device hummed to life. Arcs of brilliant blue electricity danced across the surface of what they called the time silo. The air shimmered, twisted, and then solidified. Two figures stepped out of the swirling energy. The first, an old man with a long white beard and robes covered in strange symbols, stared quizzically at a jar of pickles on a nearby shelf. This was Merlin. The second, a towering figure encased in polished black armor, adjusted his heavy gauntlets, his face hidden behind a grim visor. The Black Knight had arrived. The team was assembled. Tom fired up the engine of his massive vintage truck, a beast of a machine that had seen more miles than most people see years. The group piled in Doc, Rosemary, Merlin, and the Knight, with Sugar perched regally on the dashboard. The truck rumbled down the winding Ozark roads, kicking up a trail of dust. They navigated the steep hills and sharp curves, the landscape a blur of green and brown. As they crossed the old bridge spanning the White River, the view opened up. And there he was, Kong. He stood knee-deep in the river, a colossal figure against the morning sky, so immense it was hard to comprehend. With an almost casual movement, he knocked over a towering grain elevator, the structure crumbling like a child's toy. The sight was both terrifying and strangely majestic. Tom gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. This was the Newark mess. They pulled up on the outskirts of Newark, the town eerily quiet, its people having fled. The team lined up, facing the giant ape. Doc Holliday, ever the calm negotiator, stepped forward and tipped his hat in a gesture of respect towards Kong. Behind him, Merlin began to chant in a language lost to time. His hands weaved through the air, and a thick, iridescent fog began to roll across the water, swirling around Kong's massive legs. It wasn't a fog of confusion, but one of peace. As the mist enveloped the great ape, a sleepy daze settled over him. His movements slowed, his roars softened into deep, rumbling sighs. Seizing the moment, the Black Knight and Old Tom rushed to a nearby building whose foundation had been damaged. With a mighty heave from the Knight and Tom's steady guidance, they managed to brace the sagging structure, preventing its collapse while Merlin's spell held strong. Back in the truck, Sugar watched the scene unfold with an intense focus. She let out a soft, musical trill, a command that echoed with unseen power. In the middle of the river, the air began to shimmer and distort once more. A vast, shimmering portal opened, a swirling vortex of light and color that pulsed with energy. It was a gateway home. Lulled by Merlin's fog and guided by an instinct he couldn't understand, Kong turned and peacefully wandered towards the light. With one last look back, he stepped through the portal, disappearing from their world as quickly as he had arrived. The portal snapped shut, leaving only ripples on the water's surface. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the porch of the Three Brothers General Store, the legendary 5-in-1 very special kitten sat together, watching the colors fade from the sky. The knight, his helmet finally off, happily munched on a bag of Oreos while trying to master a yo-yo Tom had given him. The Newark mess was over, another chapter written in the quiet history of the Ozarks. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow our adventures.